Kingdom Hearts Final Mix has a great variety of speedrun categories. I have already covered the Platinum Trophy speedrun, Beginner Any% speedrun, and the Level 1 Any% speedrun, but the one I'll be showcasing today is what I believe to be the most underrated of the Any% speedruns. While the Any% categories focus a lot on abusing magic, summons, and the damage storage glitch to blaze through certain enemies and bosses, this speedrun is a lot more focused on Sora's physical abilities and provides a much better balance of magic-based strategies and strength-based strategies. Not only that, but this run in particular might just be the greatest and most groundbreaking speedrun that I have ever performed. This is the Kingdom Hearts Final Mix Standard Any% speedrun. The run starts with me selecting the standard difficulty. While in most other categories I'd choose the staff and give up the shield, in this category I choose the sword and give up the staff. This gives me +1 strength and reduces my AP by 1. Choosing the sword also gives me abilities that will allow for very fast ground combos and high damage output later down the line. It's really cool. For the questions here, I select all of the top options so that I can level up as quickly as possible within the allotted time. Since I have 1 extra strength here, killing shadows only takes 3 normal hits instead of 4, which is nice. After that, I make my way to Darkside and I have to do 10 air combos to finish the fight. It's important that I time all of my attack inputs rather than mashing them, since this game doesn't have a buffer system. For day 1 of the Destiny Islands, I have to gather a bunch of items for the raft. I pick up the first log, pick up and throw this barrel, and make my way up with a couple of ledge grabs to the cloth. After obtaining the cloth, I jump onto this tree and then to the next platform and grab the rope. I jump down and make my way to the small island, and when the water is halfway up Sora's waist, I jump forward and swim to the ladder at the back, swinging in the direction of the second log to save some time. I then talk to Kairi in order to progress to day 2. At the start of day 2, I quickly lock onto the fish, which just makes it easier for me to track them and collect them. I then make my way to the cave here to collect a mushroom, jump onto this palm tree for the seagull egg, defeat Riku in the race and win a pretty stone, which I will need to sell later for some money. For the rest of day 2, I push this boulder for a mushroom, hit this specific tree for a couple of coconuts, grab the empty bottle from Kairi, and fill it up at the hidden waterfall after getting the last mushroom. Talking to Kairi again gives me a high potion and progresses the story, where we have to defeat Darkside again. This fight relies on me being able to time my attacks to deflect all of the orbs for extra damage. Not only that, but I also need to get a decent amount of critical attacks, which are indicated by this big circle that appears when I do a finisher. Every Keyblade in KH1 has its own rate at which a crit can occur, and some Keyblades even have a critical bonus, which adds additional strength to the critical attack. For example, Kingdom Key has a crit rate of 20 and a crit bonus of 0, while One Winged Angel has a crit rate of 10%, which is very low, but boasts a crit bonus of 16. If I can get lucky, crits can shave off a decent amount of time, but it all depends on how the game feels. Lastly, only certain attacks are capable of getting a crit, such as the normal combo finisher, certain combo modifiers like Slapshot, and limits such as Ars Arcanum. With a decent amount of crits on Darkside, I already saved a whopping 13.6 seconds over PB, and now it was time for Traverse Town. At the beginning of Traverse Town, I head over to the 2nd district to kill 5 shadows. I walk behind the group of jumping shadows and do a full combo, then do another full combo to kill a few more that are bunched together. With a clean fight, I go into the accessory shop to talk to Sid, and walk out to spawn Leon. Defeating Leon on standard is a bit slower than on beginner, but it's still faster than losing to him. I jump over his fireball and do an air combo to push him into the right corner. I'm then able to combo him infinitely with full air combos until he dies. I get transported to the green room where I talk to Yuffie in order to open the elixir chest on the table. I'll be stocking up on a lot of elixirs for the end of the game. After talking to Leon, I proceed to the 3rd district, and it would be awesome if you proceeded to hit that like and subscribe button if you're interested in watching more speedrunning content from me in the future. Also, we're getting pretty close to 20,000 subs, so that would be awesome. For the first fight here, it takes 6 hits to kill a soldier. I'm also hoping that Donald uses some fire spells because they one-shot the soldiers right now. For the guard armor fight, I do a couple of combos at the start and try to parry his first attack with my second finisher, which unfortunately doesn't work. I'm able to get a quick parry afterwards and then start to combo the leg while avoiding doing a finisher until I know that it won't stagger him. When he jumps, I switch to the other leg and stagger him, trying to get in as much damage as possible before he jumps the second time. After the second jump and stagger, guard armor falls to the ground and I focus on the hands this time. After I kill the hands, he splits apart and I quickly get rid of his feet. I then have to wait out this animation of guard armor flipping around since he's invincible during it, after which I do a few air combos to finish the fight. A new best segment, nice. From defeating guard armor, I earned the Brave Warrior accessory, which increases my strength by 1. From defeating Leon, I earned an elixir. From Donald, I obtained fire, and from Goofy, I obtained dodge roll. After skipping through a bunch of cutscenes and text, I exchanged Goofy's ether onto Sora, equip Brave Warrior on Sora, equip dodge roll, and customize fire onto Circle for personal preference. Dodge roll will be my primary source of movement going forward, and I need to time my roll inputs to go as fast as possible. I go into the accessory shop and leave the world through the save point. For my first gummy menu, I strip my gummy ship of all its pieces and equip a cockpit, 1 engine, and 1 gun. That's because all of the armor actually slows the gummy ship down, so making our gummy ship look like a tissue box actually increases its base speed. For the first gummy mission to Wonderland, I can just stay in this upper right corner the entire time after dodging this specific obstacle, and I can make it to Wonderland without dying. Making it to the bazaar room, I talk to the doorknob, push the bed, and drink the potion before heading to the Queen's castle. The Queen tasks us with finding evidence to clear Alice's name, but I only need to find 1 piece of evidence. In the Lotus Forest, I ignore the enemies that spawn and go up onto this mushroom to despawn all of them, which allows me to get the evidence faster. I talk to the card soldier to present my evidence, and I want to pick the box with the soldier heartless, which is always the box that touches the ground first. This is because the text afterwards is slightly faster, and having Donald and Goofy around for the fight can help a bit. For Crank Tower, it's important that I slow my combos down intentionally, because every time a gear turns, it has a moment of invincibility. After destroying all of the gears, the lock-on for the tower is a bit finicky, but I can get around this by locking onto a card soldier behind the tower. Once I hit the tower, the lock-on appears and I can finish the fight. After this, I go to the Tea Party Garden and go straight to the bazaar room, where I light the first lamp, do a sick dodge roll to the next lamp to light that one too, and then I jump down, extend my jump with a swing, and jump to the latch to open the exit before the enemies spawn in. I touch the save point to refill my party's MP and continue to Trickmaster. This fight is really interesting on standard because not only do I need pretty good crit RNG to save time, but I also use a lot of fire spells since that does more damage than my regular attacks. I have to be really careful not to light up his batons, but if I do, it's not the end of the world. Okay. Sure. Okay. Interesting fight. After defeating Trickmaster, we get a Navi G piece and the Blizzard spell from the Cheshire Cat. Next, I fly over to Deep Jungle. For the first Sabor fight, I do 12 normal hits and then a full combo, using some fires afterwards for some more damage. Unfortunately, I miscalculated and should have done a couple extra hits, but that's okay. Die? Thank you. Tarzan joins our party right after, and I remove his first, third, and fourth ability, leaving Asp's Bite as his only MP ability so that he does as much damage as possible to enemies. I also equip both of his critical pluses to increase the amount of damage his attacks can do. Dropping down to the tunnel, I touch the save point before going down the hole so that I can warp back here later. I quit out of the jungle slider minigame and collect all of the slides for Jane's projector, utilizing some Keyblade clanks to start moving immediately while the text prompts prevent me from controlling Sora. After talking to Jane and viewing the slides, I grab the Mithril Shard from the chest to sell later, and I warp to the tunnel since it puts me closer to the vines area where the next cutscene is. After that, I go to the treehouse, drop down to the tunnel, go down the hole, skip the minigame again, and head back to the tent. Now I have to clear 5 waves of Power Wilds. My main tool here is the Blizzard spell, since it hits multiple targets at once and deals decent damage. However, because I only have 2 MP in this category, I need to mix in some physical hits or hope that my party members help me out. Donald actually does more magic damage than me since his MP bar is bigger. After the first fight, I warp to the tunnel area and swap out Goofy for Tarzan. I roll forward a couple times and use a couple of blizzards on the 3 enemies on the left, and I rely on Donald to clean up the rest of the enemies with magic. At the treehouse, I use a couple more blizzards on as many enemies as possible, cleaning up the rest with physical combos. Oh my god. At the cliffs fight, I use a couple blizzards on all of the enemies at once, cleaning up the rest with physical combos, and using an ether right after to refill my MP. For the last fight, I hit the power wild in front of me a couple of times, then back all the way up to the load zone and wait for everyone to huddle up in front of me so that I can spam blizzards to clear most of them. Heading back to the tent, I touch the save point and go back out to fight Sabor. For this fight, I try to bait Sabor into this corner and I use ground combos to stunlock her, while also mashing the triangle button to command Donald and Tarzan to deal a lot of damage. Not good. For defeating Sabor, I earned the White Fang accessory, and I equip that immediately for +1 strength. Since the climbing trees area is blocked off by vines in the tunnel area, I head to the vines area, activate this minigame by examining the flower, and quit the minigame to get teleported to the ivy. Now I have to fight this big black fruit, and this always takes 15 hits to destroy, no matter your level or stats. I head over to the treehouse and drop down to the Clayton fight. For the first fight, I do 4 empty hits and 2 finishers. Because Donald used a fire on Clayton, the fight ended faster than usual. In the next fight, I dodge roll backwards and jump onto this specific platform. Stealth Sneak jumps up to me and I do 2 combos to knock him off, which skips the animation of the Heartless becoming visible. And I can bait him to this part of the arena so that I can combo Clayton in a corner while commanding Tarzan and Donald. I'm also trying to be careful not to use a finisher at a bad angle, since Clayton would get pushed too far away from me to combo him. With that fight done, I was almost 20 seconds ahead of PB. In the Waterfall Cavern, I pick up the last 2 chests so I can sell the items later, and then I head up to the top, utilizing a pretty tricky ledge grab. I promise you it is not as easy as it looks. After completing Deep Jungle, I fly all the way back to Traverse Town. Docking in the accessory shop, I make my way to the alley and use 2 blizzards to clear the 2 yellow operas, and quickly roll to the right of the secret waterway to despawn the rest of the enemies. After performing the Red Trinity, I talk to Leon a couple of times, receive Earthshine, and leave to the 3rd district, where I jump over the railing and use a fire on the way down to open the magical door. After talking to Merlin, I warp back to the accessory shop to talk to Sid. Here I sell everything except the elixir, and that gives me enough money to buy some extra gummy parts later. I warp back to the magician's study and receive Simba from the fairy godmother, and then I head to the 3rd district, unlocking the door to the 1st district after meeting up with Riku, since enemies don't spawn here in this one instance. After talking to the Final Fantasy crew, I go to the 1st district and purchase a Fire-G and Haste-G. Fire-G is a faster engine, and the Haste-G allows you to hold the square button to do a cool little boost. Leaving through the accessory shop, I warp to Wonderland because it's actually closer to the warp hole. I equip the 2 gummy parts and fly to Agrabah. This world is rather tricky in this category. After doing some story progression stuff, I touch the save point in Aladdin's house, pick up this mega elixir that Aladdin probably stole, and head down to the desert. For the saving Aladdin fight, I roll forward and to the left a couple of times and summon Simba. Simba is very useful for certain mob fights because he can wipe out entire waves depending on how much charge you have, or leave the enemies in a stunned state. This definitely won't be the last time that you see him. After that fight, the game wants you to do some puzzling to get to Aladdin's house, but because I touched the save point earlier, I can just leave to the world map through the save point in the storage and warp to Aladdin's house that way. Here I swap out Donald for Aladdin, equip Jungle King, and unequip Aladdin's second ability and equip his critical plus. I also equip Scan on Sora and steal 2 of Aladdin's potions and ethers. I head over to the bazaar and take care of this first wave of enemies that spawn, while being careful to not fall to the bottom, since that would spawn too many enemies. After this, I can jump across and make my way to unlock this keyhole to the palace gates. I head back to Aladdin's house and then go to the palace gates, where we have to deal with Pot Centipede. This fight can be quite random because normally after you combo Pot Centipede a few times, he's supposed to split apart in the first room. However, if you and Aladdin put in enough critical hits, you can skip that phase of the fight and Pot Centipede will start moving to the middle room immediately, which is exactly what happens in this run. After he splits apart, I move away from him to let him form back together, and he needs at least 2 pots to be near him for this to happen. Aladdin unfortunately had other ideas, but eventually the pots formed back together, and now I was able to combo both his head and his tail at the same time for some extra damage. I finished the fight off with some blizzards, and thankfully I ended up in the room near the desert, meaning that I don't have to backtrack here once the rooms are separated again. Tiger Head is up next. At the start of the fight, I roll as quickly quickly as I can so that I can attack his eye before he starts moving, which manipulates him to go into his laser attack instead. With really good timing, I'm able to switch between the eyes with full combos and parry each laser with the last hit of my combo for a ton of extra damage. Once his head starts moving around, I back up onto his nose and use a bunch of blizzards to deal damage. This part of the fight is really scary because at any point, a random Heartless can just knock me off and cause me to lose the entire run potentially. Tigerhead then repeats the same laser attack from the beginning and I make quick work of him. I head into the Cave of Wonders and immediately drop down to the right. On the way down, I swing onto this platform and jump off of it to skip some swimming, and head over to the room with the pillar, using a fire on it to destroy it quickly. I head back to the surface and jump onto this pillar for an elixir, and then I touch the save point to refill on MP before starting the Jafar fight. At the start of the fight, I do 2 hits into a blizzard to force Jafar into his magic bubble, which allows me to keep comboing him for much longer. I have to hit him at the right time to stop him from moving away, and then I keep attacking him while relying on Aladdin to do some extra damage. After Jafar disappears, I position myself in a specific spot in the middle of the room to make him reappear on the same platform, and then I put him into his magic bubble once again. With Aladdin's help, I'm able to complete the 2 cycle and I drop down to Genie Jafar. At the start of the fight, I use as many Blizzaras as I can while backing away from Jafar's arm, using all of my MP. Once I run out of MP, I focus on the lamp, and after he throws a boulder, I use some more blizzards since they deal extra damage. I hit his lamp some more times, use a blizzard on Jafar when Yago is out of range, and then follow Yago to his resting spot while trying to do as many finishers as I can.
This feels like one of those too good to be true kind of runs, where you're just expecting something terrible to happen.
After Genie Jafar, I die to some boulders to get sent to the end of the Cave of Wonders faster, and then I leave the world and take the top route to Monstro. Monstro is the shortest world of the run. At the start, there's a really cool trick called Chamber 3 Skip, where I swing onto this ledge and jump to grab the next ledge to skip having to go through Chamber 3. I go all the way to Chamber 4 and equip 3 wishes before proceeding to fight Parasite Cage. This fight is pretty simple on paper, because all I have to do is do full air combos to keep the boss stun locked, as long as Donald and Goofy don't break him out. Unfortunately, I did an accidental ground finisher, which gave Parasite Cage enough time to break out of the loop, but since he was already at low health, I didn't lose too much time. After that, I jump down the hole, pick up high jump in this chest, equip slapshot, counterattack, and combo plus on Sora, and equip high jump so that I can reach Monstro's throat. I have to fight Parasite Cage again, and I can get an instant stagger at the beginning if I combo him quickly enough. My goal now is to keep him in a stagger loop just like last time, and hopefully I can get some crits along the way. When Parasite Cage opens his mouth, I go to the right of him to keep doing full combos, which prevents him from breaking out when I do my finishers. The second time this happens though, Donald hits him and makes him break out of my combos, and I lose a little bit of time as a result. After Monstro spits us out, I warp to Traverse Town and collect the Wishing Star Keyblade from Geppetto's house. Wishing Star is a very special Keyblade in that it has a 100% crit rate, so every finisher and even every slap shot will deal critical damage. This will allow me to do something special later that wouldn't be possible on this difficulty otherwise. Oh, and I also equip Ray of Light over Brave Warrior to get some more MP. I head back to Monstro and collect the Water Gleam gem and fly to Halloween Town. Fun fact, if you fly at the bottom middle of this route, it's actually impossible for enemies to hit you. At the start of Halloween Town, I pick up this power up and head to Dr. Finkelstein's lab. I instantly take both of Jack's ethers, use the power up on Sora, and give Sora 4 ethers. For the first fight in the graveyard, I use a few blizzards to clear the shadows, 2 blizzards on the ghosts, and jump back and forth work to spawn the wave of white knights faster, which I use blizzards for as well. Sally gives us the forget-me-not and I use an ether on the way to Dr. Fink's lab. After going back to the lab, I have to go back to the graveyard where I clear the white knights and skip the rest of the enemies by utilizing these pillars and some dodge rolls to enter the coffin before the command menu turns red. During the Simon Says minigame with the mayor, I use a couple of fires to increase my orange MP bar and use an ether. I collect the Jack-in-the-Box from this chest and go back to Dr. Fink. Now I head back to the graveyard yet again, light this platform to go up, and use Blizzara on these enemies to clean them up quickly. I cross the curly hill and before climbing up to Ogi's manor, I equip Brave Warrior over Ray of Light, since I want more strength for Lock, Shock, and Barrel. I then climb up the manor with some really cool movement, skipping all of the enemies along the way. For LSB, I use all of the blizzards that I can, and then I use ground combos to finish everyone off. I focus on Shock first, then Barrel, and then Lock, since Shock is the most dangerous to be hit by, and Lock is the least dangerous. I also make sure to heal whenever I'm low on HP because I obviously don't want to die. After losing a bit of time to LSB, I unlock the door to the torture chamber and drop down to the Ogi fight. At the start of the Ogi fight, I instantly jump and cast a blizzard on both of the gargoyles so that they both come down to me, and I kill both of them with more blizzards. I step on a switch to bring myself up to Oogie, making sure Donald and Goofy are not with me, and then I do 2 ground combos followed by 2 slap shots to deal extra damage. Oogie knocks me off after I do 10 hits, and then I have to deflect all of Oogie's dice to skip his next phase.
Oh my god, dude.
After a very close call, I raised a platform again and used 2 combos followed by 2 slap shots again. It's important here that I don't over damage Oogie under half a bar of HP because then he can use his healing machine to prolong the fight.
Donald, don't over damage him. Come on, man.
After getting Dice Reflect a second time, I use only slap shots to kill Oogie. Oogie then suddenly turns into a house, and I have to destroy a bunch of orbs. I primarily use air combos to kill the orbs, and make sure to use stop on these 2 gargoyles to prevent them from following me. Besides that, this fight is pretty simple, and I finish Halloween Town with a 29-second lead over my PB. Next up is Neverland. Normally, Captain Hook's pirate ship has a 30% chance to not show up, but for PC runs, we use a community-accepted mod to make the chance of getting Hook's ship 100%. This is just to ensure that runs don't randomly die an hour in to stupid RNG that we can't control. After entering Neverland, I activate the Green Trinity and head up to the Anti-Sora fight. On most categories, this is where we would use the stop spell to loop the boss, but on standard, I use some well-timed slapshot combos to deal massive damage and to parry Anti-Sora's attacks at the right time. Or so I would say, if Goofy hadn't pushed Anti-Sora away from me multiple times. Eventually, I'm able to put Anti-Sora in a loop during his last phase, where I do 1 air hit to catch him after he vanishes and reappears, and a full 4-hit ground combo to make him vanish again. After I defeat Anti-Sora, I open the latch and cast Blizzard to skip grabbing the ledge, and I open the menu to equip Raven's Claw over Brave Warrior, equip Tornado and Cheer on Goofy, equip Hurricane Blast on Sora, shortcut the stop spell on Triangle, and customize Goofy's support actions to frequently. This will be useful for once Goofy obtains MP Gift. Before starting the pre-Hook Heartless fight, I swap out Donald for Peter Pan. I roll forward at the beginning of the fight and cast Stop on the first 2 pirates, and the rest is pretty self-explanatory.
So there's 6 seconds right there down the drain. What the hell? Never seen that happen. Is that the last one? Was that really necessary?
At the start of the hook fight, I do a couple of air combo loops with stop to get some early damage in, and then I try to do as much damage as I can with slap shots, using the occasional stop spell whenever I can afford it. However, the fight ends in a pretty scary way and the run almost dies.
Can you not? Uh-oh. Okay. Jesus. I don't know how I lived through that. I thought Pan was gonna give me a potion when I was low on HP, and then he gave me an ether instead.
After hitting the clock a few times to seal the keyhole, I pick up the Flare G from the chest and open the menu to equip Fairy Harp, Guard, Ars Arcanum, and Glide. Before going back to Traverse Town, I open the Gummy menu and equip Flare G over Fire G to make my ship faster. I dock in the Magician's Study to get Dumbo from the Fairy Godmother and warp to the accessory shop, heading my way to the bell and using Ars on the Mage Heartless to get access to the Red Trinity as quickly as I can. I ring the bell 3 times and drop down to the keyhole, where I put one of Guard Armor's hands to 0 HP to quickly stun him, using an ether on myself before the fight fades out. For Opposite Armor, my goal is to guard his attacks and use Rs on his hands since they have the most HP. There's a random chance for this boss to split apart and lose me a ton of time, but thankfully I get pretty lucky and have a perfect fight.
Wow. What?
I talk to Sid a couple of times and fly over to Hollow Bastion. After Riku steals my Keyblade, I head down to the waterway with Beast and use 2 gravities on this defender while commanding Beast to finish him off. I unlock the door to the castle and head back to the elevator switch, despawning the Dark Balls so that I can activate the switch without fighting them, since the wooden sword doesn't deal any physical damage. Now it's time to fight Riku, and for this fight, my goal is to trap Riku in a corner with Ars Arcanum and air combos while I get help from Goofy's Tornado ability. Unfortunately, things don't go exactly as planned.
Come on, Goofy. Nope. That's pretty bad.
I head to the library to unlock the door to the top level, but before I go to that room, I leave the world and head over to Agrabah. Since I just unlocked the White Trinity from Riku, I can use that to obtain Ifrit's belt, which gives me even more strength. I head back to Hollow Bastion and get all of the emblem pieces by lighting the candles, breaking these pots, doing this Red Trinity, and pushing this statue thing, and before putting all of the pieces into the door, I steal Beast's ethers and equip an ether, elixir, elixir, ether, and ether, in that specific order onto Sora. I also unequip Guard, equip Ifrit Belt over White Fang, and replace Beast's Blizzard Ring with White Fang to set him up for the second visit. After entering the emblem door, I head over to the other side of the castle gates, stare at this wyvern for a bit to manipulate his movements, and glide over to the Haste 2G chest after the wyverns despawn. I glide over to the switch and hop onto this big elevator ride. Here I have to kill 3 wizards, but unfortunately Donald uses stop on one of them and wastes some time. After the elevator ride is done, I pick up the Blue Trinity for 2 cottages and a Megalixir, and head over to the high tower where I use Dumbo to get up to this ledge without having to go around. Before starting the Maleficent fight, I use the bottom ether on myself and pre-select the top ether in my inventory for later. For this fight, I use some Slapshot combos and some Ars Arcanum combos to deal a lot of damage, and using Ars also gives me a lot of invincibility frames to brute force my way through her attacks. I use an ether on myself after the second Ars, and after she summons her Defender Heartless, I use Arrow for safety and an elixir to power through her Desperation move before it destroys me.
That's dumb. Dude. Oh my god, those defenders really almost screwed up the fight right there. That would have been horrible.
Before fighting Dragonmal, I equip an Elixir and Mega Elixir onto Sora, and equip Cheer, Leaf Bracer, and Second Wind on Donald. Dragon Maleficent is one of the hardest fights in the entire run, because I have to do extremely precise air combos, use stop at the right time, and use my items at just the right time to keep her in the loop. I cannot stress how difficult it is to do these inputs as precisely as this. I immediately proceed to Riku Ansem, where I poke him a few times in the first phase to make him spin, and then use a couple of Ars Arcanums to push him into the second phase. Once he's in the second phase, I can do a super precise air combo loop to hopefully skip his desperation move. After defeating Riku Ansem, I get turned into a shadow and have to make my way back to Donald, who bonks me in the head. I get transported to Traverse Town, where I talk to Sid, collect the Navigummi from the Secret Waterway, obtain Oathkeeper from Kairi, and talk to Sid one last time. Before flying to Hollow Bastion, I equip Haste 2G, which allows me to boost much faster. Halfway through the Gummy Ship route towards Hollow Bastion, I can quit out to the world map and just warp to the world. This time, I keep Beast in my party, and I shortcut Gravity on Triangle, unequip Beast's Lunge and equip his Critical Plus, equip Guard on Sora, and equip Oathkeeper. I also collect this Mega Elixir chest in the Rising Falls, just in time for me to make the next platform cycle. In the next room, I roll forward a couple times, quickly inch forward and back to spawn just one wizard, land on this platform, and summon Dumbo to fly up to this ledge to skip having to go around. And from here I can glide all the way to the elevator switch. On the big elevator, I position Beast on the specific triangle on the floor, and position myself between the center of the stage and Beast so that he kills everything, or almost everything, in one roar. Before going to the castle chapel, I drop down and glide to the secret area to pick up the Royal Crown accessory, which will increase my MP a lot whenever I switch over to a magic build. I perform Dumbo Skip one last time, touch the save point in the castle chapel, and proceed to the Great Hall, where I collect the Oblivion from this chest. I make sure to use a fire to set up my orange MP bar before I swap to Oblivion. This Keyblade is really nice because it has a lot of strength, and it's especially useful for the next boss, Behemoth. My goal here is to utilize Ars Arcanum while Beast and Goofy deal additional damage. I also need to be careful not to get knocked off too soon or to take too much damage.
Really good damage. Jeez. Give me a good pattern, please. Beast? Why is Beast here? Wow. Oh.
Yep, that fight was pretty good. After defeating Behemoth, I obtained the Omega Arts, which is a decent strength accessory. After a long unskippable cutscene, I obtained Firaga from the princesses and open up the menu to equip Oathkeeper, Omega Arts, Ray of Light on Goofy, unequip Tornado and equip Second Chance, MP Rage and MP Gift on Goofy, and equip MP Rage on Donald. Last but not least, it's time for End of the World. At the start of the Invisibles fight, I cast Arrow on myself and lock onto the Invisible right in front of me. I cast a few gravities while hoping everyone everyone else jumps in, then switch to the invisible that doesn't get caught, and finish up the last invisible with some fires before he DMs. For the Angel Stars fight, I cast 2 gravities on each Angel Star and finish them up with some air combos. I get lucky with a crit on the last enemy to save some more time. I pick up this green elixir chest, equip Oblivion, and use a cottage. I also get this red cottage chest for later. At the start of the Behemoth fight, I call Donald and Goofy over to me to prevent Donald from stunning Behemoth early, and I use 8 gravities until Goofy uses MP Gift on me a second time. I stand on his leg to avoid knockback and use an Ars Arcanum followed by some full air combos to deal a lot of damage. After he gets back up, I do a couple of ground combos without a finisher to build up MP and use another Rs to kill. Suddenly I was a minute and 10 seconds ahead of my PB. Right after that fight, I equip Oathkeeper over Oblivion and Royal Crown over Raven's Claw. I'll be referring to this as the magic build. I touch the save point to refill an MP and head to the world terminus. All of the portals here reflect different worlds I've been to, but the worlds that I didn't seal the keyhole for will be blue, and I have to enter them and clear all of the Heartless. The first of these worlds is Olympus Coliseum, where I summon Simba immediately, use a 2-tick charge to stop the enemies from attacking me, and 3 full charges to kill all 3 waves back to back. The next world I have to enter is Atlantica. I start by casting 5 Firagas on each of the sheltering zones. Then I use a gravity on each of the aqua tanks and clear everything with Firagas. Next, I enter the 100 Acre Woods portal, collect this Mega Elixir, and touch the save point to refill an MP. I head over to the Hollow Bastion portal, cast Arrow on myself, and spam a bunch of gravities on the invisibles in front of me, trying to catch the others underneath. Unfortunately, one invisible gets past my gravities, and while I tried to take him out, I accidentally left the room. That means that all of the enemies that I didn't kill will respawn with full HP again, so that obviously didn't make me super happy. Entering the next room, I pick up this elixir chest, and I use a few gravities on the invisibles and some more air combos to clean them up.
Whatever.
Then I switch to a strength build by putting Oblivion back on and Raven's Claw over Royal Crown. For the Chernobog fight, my goal is to use a bunch of air hits while avoiding the finisher until it's absolutely necessary, because using a finisher puts me in a lot of end lag where I'm not able to attack for a little bit. I also need to pass a certain HP gate to prevent Chernobog from using his massive Fire Pillar attack.
Wow. Very good fight. I still save time. That's crazy.
After Chernobog, I equip Super Glide and head down the volcano towards the last room before final rest. First, I have to fight yet another behemoth where I jump on his back and spam a bunch of gravities and a couple of Ars Arcanums. After defeating Behemoth, I quickly glide to the emblem door to have more time to open the menu before the next fight starts, and I put my magic build back on and use a cottage to refill on MP. I position myself on the left side of the room and use Firagas to clear all of the dark balls, then I position myself by this emblem door, use Arrow on myself, and then try to use gravities on all of the invisibles. After all of the invisibles die, I have to summon Simba as quickly as possible, which requires both party members to be alive, but the game had other ideas.
No, no, Donald died. Oh my god. This might not work. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. It might be over right here. Wait, we're good. We're good. Oh my god, my heart.
After that doozy of a fight, I pick up this last Mega Elixir chest, put my strength build back on, and give Goofy the Royal Crown before entering the final door. For the first Ansem fight, my goal here is to use Ars Arcanum and some air combos while trapping him in a particular corner, which requires some very good positioning, and for Goofy to constantly throw me MP.
Yo, I'm not risking it. Playing it safe there was a really good play.
Indeed it was. After that fight, I use a cottage, give myself 2 elixirs and 4 mega elixirs, and equip Tornado on Goofy. For the dark side fight, I do some slapshot combos and a couple of Ars Arcanums, finishing the fight with some fast air combos. Ansem 2 is one of the toughest fights in this whole run. My goal is to do as much damage as possible with air combos, and then right before I reach his green HP bar, I need to do 3 air hits and a well-timed Ars Arcanum to skip his desperation move, which can waste over 20 seconds if I fail.
Jesus Christ.
With 2 best segments back to back, it was time for the third Ansem fight, and this fight can be incredibly scary. The strat here is pretty similar to Chernobog, where I need to use a bunch of air hits while only using finishers at the most optimal times. However, I need to heal myself and use arrow at the right time, and use an elixir in between for more MP. And let's just say that this fight could have been a disaster.
That's fine. Oh my god. Jesus Christ, dude. That was too close.
At the end of that scary ass fight, I do a well-timed dodge roll as the fight is ending to automatically skip the next cutscene. For the Shadows core, I use a couple of Ars Arcanums to clear all of them quickly, using a gravity and a couple of hits on the core to kill it faster. I also need to build up enough MP to cast Arrow on the next fight and cure myself if I need to. The next fight is against the Artillery, which I need to constantly position myself between 2 targets at the same time so that my finisher can hit both targets at the same time. I'm also hoping to get some crits here to get through this fight faster. With a decent artillery fight, I fly towards the Dark Balls core. Here I use a gravity on the center Heartless as quickly as possible and use an Rs to kill all of the ones that got squished, and use a couple more Rs to clean up any stragglers.
Really good.
After killing the core, I use a Mega Elixir, but I set myself to 5 MP on purpose so that Goofy uses MP Gift on me in the next fight more consistently, since I need to be at 2 MP for his ability to trigger, and Ars Arcanum uses up 3 MP. On the face fight, I do exactly that. I use an arrow on myself and try to use Ars Arcanums as often as I can, hopefully without dying.
Nope. Very nice.
After killing the face, I use a Mega Elixir, and there was now only one RNG fight left, the Invisibles core. Here I play it a bit safe and cast stop spells right when the 2 groups of enemies lunge at me. I use a bunch of gravities on them, and they all die super quickly.
Oh my god.
I was now on pace for the world's first 202 in standard any percent, and keep in mind that the world record before this was a 204.39. Nobody ever imagined that a 202 would even be possible. Would this run be it? I fly over to the main core and use a few gravities and some air combos. I use a Mega Elixir right before the fight fades out, and now it was time for the final boss.
What just happened?
Don't go simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go.
What just happened? What is that?
Thank you all so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing and leaving it a like, and huge shoutouts to my patrons over on Patreon for supporting my YouTube endeavors. Patreon supporters get early access to all of my scripted videos, and I will also be posting behind the scenes content and some exclusive unedited content as well, so please consider checking it out, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.